And welcome back to For Such a Time as This, as we discuss the end-time prophecies and the Middle East wars. I'm with Rick, as always. Rick, how are you?
Doing fine, thank you, Pastor.
We were off last week. I was on vacation. That was it. Done. Now let's go ahead and hit it for the rest of the year as we discuss things pertaining to the culture from a Christian biblical worldview. Lots been going on, Rick, in the Middle East.
I know a lot of stuff that's going under the radar as far as most people are concerned, but I think some of them have huge prophetic implications.
So, as always, we're going to give some updates in the Middle East, and then we're going to discuss a spiritual discussion. The spiritual discussion today is Laodicea, the book in Laodicea, in the book of Revelation. And if we see some shades of Laodicea in our culture today. But before we get to that spiritual topic, let's start off with the first video, updating. The first one is what? The trade routes? Trade
routes. This came out of nowhere, just like the Abraham Accord right before Trump left office. Out of nowhere, but this could have huge prophetic implications. We'll talk about it after.
Here we go.
Breaking news, President Donald Trump has brokered a historic peace deal between Armenia and Azerbaijan, ending 4 decades of hostility. On August 8th, Trump will host the leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan at the White House to sign a joint declaration ending years of conflict. The deal launches the Trump Route, a new multimodal transport corridor unlocking the region's vast commercial potential. This strategic route will move goods from the Caucasus and Central Asia without passing through Russia, Iran, or China. White House officials say the winners are the West, while China, Russia, and Iran stand to lose influence in the region. Armenia will grant the United States exclusive rights to build and manage the route through its southern region. The U.S. will delegate construction and management to a consortium, with multiple companies already showing interest. In a Truth Social post, Trump called it a historic peace summit, praising both nations for choosing diplomacy over war. This peace deal follows months of U.S.-led diplomacy, including multiple visits to the region by special envoys. As part of the agreement, both countries will request the dissolution of the Minsk Group, marking a new chapter in regional peace. A historic step for peace, trade, and prosperity, reshaping the future of the South Caucasus and beyond.
That sounds like war.
It looks like I saw an article. It's interesting. I've tried to get so many of these articles, and every time I brought them up on YouTube, it says it's been discontinued, or not available. But Russia's got her feathers ruffled because of this. They are not happy.
Yeah, once you control the trade routes and you control trade and commerce, that has the power to weaken and destroy countries. China's going to fight this with everything they have. This will greatly weaken their not only regional influence, but world influence. The problem in the United States of America is that if we get a president, we need a president after him, because Trump's not going to do this in the next 3 years. You need another president that's going to continue this.
Right.
If that makes sense. And maybe in 7 years he can get this trade route up and going, because once the money starts to flow, no president is going to take money. Well, I say that. I could be wrong. Yeah, you may have a president that's anti-American. I don't know, but anyway, but that's very historic, the trade route. So that, coupled with the Abrahamic Accords, I think Trump is trying to redo the whole economic structure of global commerce.
Right.
And that is, I think, is a direct challenge to the global powers that be in Europe. I'm not sure. These are not two European countries here.
No, they're not European at all.
No.
I didn't know there was a 35, 40-year war going on between them.
Exactly. I've heard of Azerbaijan. What is it, Armenia?
Armenia and Azerbaijan.
The only reason why I know about Azerbaijan is because I knew a guy who was a missionary there. But those two countries, they never make the news.
I know. I never heard of anything.
I never heard of a 4-decade war against these guys, but obviously
Trump did, and he put some people in there and got the job done.
Trying to do some things, and again, you're starting to see more global things starting to come to the surface. All right, here's the second one. Iran is starving for water. Look at this.
Imagine a country where the scorching sun not only bakes the earth, but also drains the lifeblood of its cities. This is the stark reality Iran faces today. As temperatures soar towards a scorching 50 degrees Celsius, 122 Fahrenheit, due to a relentless heat wave, the Iranian government has taken drastic measures, ordering government offices in 16 provinces, including the capital Tehran, to shut down on Wednesday to save electricity. This move underscores a much larger and more troubling issue. The country is grappling with dwindling water supplies, crumbling infrastructure, and dire warnings that Tehran's reservoirs could run dry within months. The Iranian Meteorological Organization has issued a stark warning. The heat wave, which began in mid-June, will continue for at least 5 more days, with temperatures so high they threaten to cripple the power grid. The soaring demand for air conditioning has led to prolonged blackouts, forcing residents to endure sweltering conditions without relief. But here's where it gets controversial. Some argue that the government's response is too little, too late, and that more proactive measures are needed to prevent a full-blown disaster. Tehran, a city of 9 million people nestled on the edge of Iran's central desert, is experiencing its worst rainfall in 60 years. This has left reservoirs dangerously low, prompting authorities to reduce water pressure in pipelines to extend the remaining supply. President Masoud Pezeshkian has sounded the alarm, singling out the Amir Kabir Dam, a critical water source, and warning that without immediate and significant cuts in water usage, the city's dams could be emptied by September.
Wow. What a coincidence.
Well, what a coincidence. Looked like the Lord's intervening here.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But, man, I mean, I don't know.
5 of their major dams almost empty.
Wow. Okay. All right. Iran is struggling again. Now, you brought up the next story, this journalist who was assassinated by the IDF. I never heard of this. This happened in the last few weeks?
In the last 2 days.
Last 2 days.
And
so here we go.
Anas al-Sharif was apparently a pretty prominent journalist for the Qatari-funded network Al Jazeera.
He was one of the most recognizable voices reporting from Gaza since the war began in October 2023. Among the few
from the mainstream media to just regular users on X, everyone seems to be mourning him as the latest victim of Israeli aggression in the Gaza Strip. Al Jazeera said this, quote, "The order to kill Anas al-Sharif, one of Gaza's bravest journalists, along with his colleagues, is a desperate attempt to silence voices ahead of the occupation of Gaza." There's just one problem. He was a terrorist. Yeah, he was an actual terrorist and a member of Hamas. The IDF said this on X. Struck Hamas terrorist Anas al-Sharif, who posed as an Al Jazeera journalist. Al-Sharif was the head of a Hamas terrorist cell and advanced rocket attacks on Israeli civilians and IDF troops. Intelligence and documents from Gaza, including rosters, terrorist training lists, and salary records, prove he was a Hamas operative integrated into Al Jazeera. A press badge isn't a shield for terrorism, and they are absolutely right. Just take a look at these pictures. Journalists don't carry assault rifles, and they definitely do not take smiling selfies with some of the most blood-soaked terrorist leaders on the planet. But this one did, and that's not even the worst part. Here is what this so-called innocent journalist posted on Telegram on October 7th, and this is absolutely sickening. He said this, quote, "9 hours and the heroes are still roaming the country, killing and capturing. God, how great you are." That was on October 7th, 2023 at 3:49 p.m.
Sounds like a terrorist to me.
Yeah, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
Yeah. The one again, this is part of the criticism I've had with Netanyahu and IDF is they need to hurry up and wrap this up. Rick, why wasn't this guy taken out sooner? I mean, It's just, and again, it's easy for us to sit here and criticize the Israeli, because I don't know what they're dealing with internally. I don't know what it's like on those things. But I can tell you this from a world perspective. People's patience is running out. I mean, even in America at this point, it's like, and even in the U.S.,
get it over with.
Get it over with, man. Do what you got to do. And it's not like they can't do it. They can do it.
Well, there's the next video is going to describe a little of that, and then we'll comment on both of these.
All right, here we go.
Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Rebecca Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan El Rome. Yes, Rebecca, negotiations for Syria to join the Abraham Accords and normalize ties with the Jewish state are progressing. Political observers believe that it is just a matter of time until Jerusalem and Damascus forge a historic peace agreement. According to reports in Lebanese media, Syrian leader Ahmed al-Sharar has dropped the demand for Israel to withdraw from the Golan Heights. Well, this is the first time Syria has relinquished its claim over the strategic territory that Israel annexed after the 1967 war. Al-Sharar is seeking clearly defined security agreements for southern Syria and U.S. support for his country in exchange for normalizing ties with Israel. Analysts believe that once Syria joins the Abraham Accords, Lebanon and Saudi Arabia will soon follow and finally make peace with Israel.
Well,
I seen your moment there, Pastor. Sorry, I thought I put that other one in.
Huh?
This was not supposed to be about Syria. There was about an update on what Israel was going to do in Gaza. Supposedly, they're supposed to put 250,000 troops into Gaza, annihilate Gaza City, and still try and negotiate with for the hostages.
So when are they going to do this?
They say for them to go in and overtake all of Gaza City, it will take at least through the end of October.
When will they start?
Well,
do we know?
They're going to start in Gaza City, but they have to move 1 million people out of the area before
Not where, but when. They're going to start in Gaza City, but when are they going to start these efforts?
They're going to start in the next couple of weeks. They've been putting troops in place. Again, are we going to lose thousands of soldiers for 20 hostages, or are we going to keep playing Hamas's game?
I know. And listen, people say, and we do get some criticism, Rick. I don't know if you look at it, but we do get some criticism because we seem to be just excusing Israel's, they say, ethnic cleansing in Gaza. And here's my response to this. Gaza started this via Hamas, who's the ruling party in Gaza. You can't start a war and then complain when the war is not going your way. If Hamas lays down their arms and totally gives up, you got a point. Hamas hasn't laid down any arms.
They haven't released any hostages.
They still got hostages. They're still fighting. Yet somehow people criticize Israel. I'm sorry, Israel didn't start this war. Hamas and the people of Gaza started this war. And they're still fighting, and they still have hostages. So any ethnic cleansing or any bad things that are happening to children in Gaza, and there are some terrible things happening to children in Gaza, but it's not Israel's fault. I don't understand how you can say it's Israel's fault. Again, if you and I get into a war and you have my kids in your house and you want to have peace, the first thing, because I'm whipping your behind, the first thing I'm going to say is give me my kids back, then we can talk. Until you give my family back, I'm going to keep coming at you. Well, Hamas still has hostages. You can't expect Israel to lay down their arms and stop. And if the children continue to die and if the children continue to suffer, that's Hamas's fault. That's not Israel's fault. If they totally surrender and Israel continues, then you've got an argument. Until then, no, I'm sorry. Israel has every right to do what they're doing. And to me, the only thing is, why aren't they being more forceful, quicker? That's the only criticism I have of Israel.
Yeah. Yeah,
Bring the hammer faster.
They have to. Their troops are not decimated, but they're worn out. They say after 40 days on a battlefield, a soldier's efficiency goes down to 10%. And
that little, really?
And then their economic.
Talking about Israel.
Yeah. Then their economic concerns. No one working, families being. It's not good for Israel. They need to get this over with.
Yeah, bring the hammer. Do what you got to do. All right, spiritual discussion.
Syria. We forgot about Syria.
I don't have it.
Oh, we just wrote about the peace treaty with Syria. I got this out of order. That Syria wanted to do a peace treaty.
I only have 4 clips.
We just played it instead of the Israel one in Gaza. We discussed Gaza, but we played the Syria video.
So I played it already.
Yeah.
So go ahead, discuss.
Yeah. So Syria wants to make peace with Israel. And what's interesting about that is Syria is not in the confederacy with Russia, the Russian-Iran war. So Syria wants to make peace. They told Israel that they could keep control of the Golan Heights. That could have huge prophetic implications. So.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see, yeah.
All that stuff is murky at this point.
Right, but
yeah.
If that happens, Lebanon and Saudi Arabia, all these Arab countries will start to come on board, I think, with the Abraham
I think the Abrahamic Accords will trigger the peace that we're looking for. And when you have a peace treaty that goes for 7 years,
right?
That's when you're going to see some real prophetic stuff, I believe, start to take place. But until that happens, I mean, we're just looking and we're watching. So, all right, switching gears now to our spiritual discussion. Are we the church of Laodicea? Look at Revelation 3:16. So, because you are lukewarm and neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. For you say, I am rich, I have prospered, and I need nothing, not realizing that you are wretched, pitiable, poor, blind, naked. I counsel you to buy from me gold refined by fire, so that you may be rich, and white garments, so that you may clothe yourselves. And then it continues. Verse 18 continues in Revelation. But this is Jesus saying, buy from me gold refined by fire. And we know that gold refined by fire is the purifying process by which gold, metaphorically, and Christians are purified and made more pure. Those who believe in the epoch theory, which I believe I do believe in the epoch theory. Those who believe in the epoch theory understand that, or believe that the 7 churches represent the 7 time periods, and that Laodicea is the last time period in which the Lord then starts the Lord then starts the 7-year tribulation, or Daniel's 70th week. And so are we right now living in the times of Laodicea? Well, here's what I did. I asked ChatGPT, can you please create a list of pastors and churches that have been exposed for sin in the last 10 years? What's going on in the last 10 years? Is the church, the visible church, Laodicea, in that sin and corruption and the things you see in Laodicea, is that characteristic of the visible church? Look what ChatGPT, or I'll put it up here now. Look at what ChatGPT put up. For those of you who can't see it, it says, I could do that, and I'll be careful. Naming people for wrongdoing is sensitive, so I'll stick to cases that were publicly reported, investigated, and resulted in disciplinary action. So this little list he has here is far greater than what's here. But let's just look at the notable ones. Have you ever heard of a name goes by the name Bill Hybels, and the founding pastor of Willow Creek Community Church? Have you ever heard of him, Rick?
Yes,
have you ever heard of him?
Been around for.
He's been around.
Used to be around for a long time.
Used to be around. He's actually 5 minutes away from New Hope Community Church, where we are, maybe 10 minutes. Where we are
close by.
Close by. You're close. It says multiple women's allegations of sexual harassment and misconduct led to an independent investigation that found some allegations credible. Heibel stepped down earlier and the church later published investigative findings that corroborated some of the things. So, Bill Heibel, that happened in 2019. I remember that was terrible. Then there was a man by the name of Ravi Zacharias. You ever heard of him?
Oh my
Rick?
goodness, he was a worldwide apologetic.
Yeah, in 2020, it got so bad that even his daughter, after he died, because when those allegations broke, he died within a year or something, right?
Yeah,
he died really fast,
quickly.
and you wonder,
Lord,
how you die so fast? You see, maybe the Lord. I don't know, Rick. If the things that they were saying were true, I don't think the man was saved. He. It's one thing to fall. I get it. It's one thing to fall, but if you're trafficking women for prostitution, from country to country, if what they say is true, and his daughter came out and apologized, they had his name. His name was on the deeds of brothels in Canada. It was bad, and theologically he was really, really good. I used to listen to Ravi Zacharias. I used to love him.
yeah.
And he was really good in putting Christianity in reasonable light as compared to other religions. But his theology was off. He called Joyce Myers a great Bible teacher. I remember that. That's when the red flags went off with Ravi Zacharias. And that was about 15, 16, whatever. And like, whoa, Ravi, whoa, really?
Joyce Myers?
Joyce Myers. He was on stage with her at her church. He says, Joyce, you're obviously a good Bible teacher. Blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, whoa, Ravi, what is going on? So I was looking at him a little cross-eyed, but I never thought it would get
Oh, my.
to the point, the stuff that was exposed. And again, if half the stuff they say was true, you can't be an international pimp. And they said he was the worst one that would sample the product, okay?
Oh, my goodness.
You didn't know that, Rick?
No, I didn't hear all the details.
You didn't hear, oh, man, no. He was terrible. And they said they had some terrible men, but he was the worst that would come in. That was reported. That was reported. After allegations in 2020 commissioned an independent investigation, Miller and Meyer, that conducted Ravi Zacharias engaged in sexual misconduct. The findings and reports were widely reported in 2020 and 2021. So, yeah, him. And then Carl Lentz from Hillsong, the plant in New York City. He was ousted in 2020. Even Hillsong, the leadership, got rid of him. And then Brian Houston, the mother church in Australia, Hillsong, after internal investigation found he engaged in inappropriate conduct with women and other investigations, Houston stepped aside and then resigned as Hillsong's global senior pastor in early 2022.
They had a lot of doctrinal issues, too.
Oh, Brian Houston was a heretic. You see, doctrinal issues. He also faced criminal proceedings related to allegations that he concealed an abuse of his father's reported. So his father was actually sexually assaulting people, and then his father died. Brian Houston covered it up, and then Brian Houston, I forgot because I don't keep this. Brian Houston also engaged in his mess. But Brian Houston, when Hillsong exploded in America, Brian Houston, I saw in videos saying that Christians and Muslims worship the same God. That we call him Yahweh, they call him Allah, but it's the same God. Now, like heretic, there he is, he's gone. They put out great music that people fell in love with, but by swallowing the music, I think they also swallowed. Not everybody didn't swallow the bad theology. Most people didn't even realize how bad Brian Houston was, but the Hillsong exported a lot of bad things. James McDonald, you can actually walk to Harvest Bible Chapel here from New Hope Community Church.
I was a member there for 10 years.
He was a member there for 10 years. Oh, he was removed and fired in 2019 after allegations of abusive leadership and financial management. The church of the EFCA accreditations and the McDonald later faced additional legal issues, and then it goes on and on. I remember that very well. Again, do you remember why he stepped down? Because they finally got a recording of him.
Right.
Right? That Mancow played on his
Mancow,
thing.
the radio.
Yeah. Mancow, and then Julie Royce wrote about it on her stuff. They got to a point where they could no longer protect him, and he had stepped down.
And they protected him for years.
Decades.
Decades.
I heard stuff about him in the late 90s, Rick. the late 90s. And I kept my powder. I didn't, you hear stuff, you don't know whether or not it's true. And, I don't gossip. So, I would talk to close friends who were involved or thinking of getting involved. I wouldn't say anything, but all those allegations in the late 90s actually came true. And the worst of it, again, I still have not spoken of it, but yeah, he stepped down. That was terrible. That was terrible. Tullian, I don't even know how to pronounce this one guy, from Coral Ridge, USA, resigned in 2015 after admitting to inappropriate relationships. Andy Savage, High Point Church, 2018. I vaguely remember that. I don't remember that. But again, these are court documents. Hillsong, the church faced multiple reports, investigations, documenting systemic problems, allegations, and assaults by their staff. So it wasn't just Brian Houston; it was the entire organization. And again, when your senior pastor steps on stage and says Christians and Muslims worship the same God, and people don't walk out, you are now complicit. Hillsong was a big heresy machine for many years, and people turned a blind eye to it and continue to listen to their music. So, are we the Church of Laodicea? Rick, that's only 8. But there's problems all over with mega churches, man. The list is long. I mean, Christian after Christian organizations, self-proclaimed organizations, are falling like flies.
Well, they're not preaching the gospel. They're more business operations than they are churches.
Most mega churches are businesses. They're not churches.
Feed the cash cow.
Feed the cash cow, and whenever you challenge sin, they're afraid that people are going to leave. So guess what? They don't challenge sin, and that is the Church of Laodicea. It is. Let me look at it again. So because you are lukewarm, you are neither hot nor cold. You're in the middle. You're neither hot nor cold. Hot water has medicinal purposes. Cold water has medicinal purposes. Lukewarm water has 0 medicinal purposes. And Jesus says, I will reject you. I will spit you out of my mouth. That's rejection language. Because the church that he is describing in Laodicea, they are so self-deceived. What's part of deception? I'm rich, right? How many mega churches have big budgets? They're businesses. I'm rich. I have prospered because I have these big buildings and I have these big budgets, and I need nothing. Why? Because you got everything you want, i.e. money. But this church specifically, Laodicea, and I believe many churches today, they don't realize that they're wretched, pitiable, poor, blind, and naked. Stand for something. Stand for sin in the culture. I counsel you to buy from me gold refined by fire. Stand for something. Take a little heat, right? So that you may be truly rich with white garments. And the modern day church as a whole
doesn't stand for anything.
At least in America, they don't stand for anything. Very, very, very. Now, I'm not saying, again, we're speaking in broad terms. Do you have some mega churches that stand? Absolutely. Down south, I don't know any in Chicago, to be honest with you.
No.
But
there's some remnant churches around.
There's some remnant churches.
But they're fewer and fewer.
Fewer and fewer for the most part. We are the Church of Laodicea. I wish we weren't, but I think we are. But anyway, that's it for me, Rick. Rick, you have anything else?
No, a lot of stuff. It's good to be back, and
yes. We'll be consistent now for the rest of the year. About to say rest of the semester, but it is the year. School is starting. The church, we're getting back. We're getting ready for our fall ministries, our men's ministries, women's ministries starting up. And we're going to be more consistent between now and Christmas. We'll take a few weeks off of Christmas, but we should be here for the rest of the year. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Rick, as always.
Thank you, Pastor.
We'll see you until next time. God bless.
For such a time as this,